Thank you for tuning into the Modern Day Overthinker podcast. My name is Colin, and I'm your host. This week's episode is with Lori Hopper. She is a mental fitness coach. She runs a company called Reframe Mental Fitness Coaching. She's also a fellow Assumption High School graduate, such as myself. This episode is jam-packed with a lot of information. And the key thing that we discussed, though, was our relationships with ourselves and framing that to be a lot more positive, to be much more positive. I know I struggle with that personally, so this episode was helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you. And a couple of key pieces of content, information, topics, what have you, were boundaries, how Lori became a certified professional coach, CPC for short, the fight or flight response, meditation, PTSD, projection, empathy, and a whole lot more. A lot packed into this episode, like I said. I think you'll really enjoy it. This was a fantastic episode to record, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Here's episode 49 with Lori Hopper. Boundaries have been very, very important, and I've been a lot better at setting them. Like, it's because I'm such a people pleaser.
Recovering people pleaser.
Yeah. Constantly recovering people pleaser because I relapse all the time on that.
Yeah, a lot of my family members are very heavy people pleasers. I am recovering, I'd say 5 or 6, 7 years. I learned how to set boundaries just because of some bullshit that happened. Just because of, that I was kind of forced to set my own boundaries.
You don't have to worry about cussing, by the way. It doesn't matter.
But yeah, so it's funny how it's almost like once you find somebody that knows how to set boundaries, like ride their coattails to the top, because that's the easiest way, is having friends that have boundaries. Because I'll see my mom not setting boundaries, and she'll come to me, and I could run right through them, but instead I'll be like, hey, it's probably a good spot for a boundary. Like, you shouldn't be letting me getting this close to the situation. So I'm just letting you know that sometimes I'll help
set the
other
boundary
people.
For her.
Well, because I know that she struggles with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that with anybody else except, someone that I'm with all the time, like my mom. But
yeah.
I think it is your responsibility when you learn how to set boundaries to look for boundaries in others. And if you notice, hey, I'm uncomfortable, I think I'm crossing a boundary that I wouldn't want someone else to do, call that out and say, hey, is this okay? Are you, because when you spot boundaries from a 360 view, it's so much easier to make them yourself, because you can say, I was in this position and I feel empathy because I felt like I was overstepping that boundary, and that made me uncomfortable. Had my mom upset that boundary, I wouldn't feel comfortable. She wouldn't feel comfortable. Boundaries just protect relationships. That's all they're there for.
Yeah.
I care enough about this relationship that I'm going to make some ground rules.
Yeah. Some people really don't like them, though.
Because they are better off without you setting them. People don't like boundaries when it presses up against what they want you to do.
Yeah.
So that's why it's if you see that as a recurring theme, in a relationship, and whether it's, romantic or platonic or family or friends, if you see a current theme of I'm upset with you when you set a boundary, it's because they are better off without your boundaries. So that's always a good thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And they might not even know. Our subconscious mind, 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously.
Yeah. And
our subconscious mind does whatever our conscious mind tells it to do. That's why when we say things to ourselves, affirmations, I'm going to be happy today. I'm not going to be nervous about this recording, or those types of things. That's our conscious mind. And when we're feeding imagery and healthy words to our conscious mind, that flows into our subconscious mind that we have no control over, outside of saying the right things to yourself at the right times.
Yeah, I've struggled with the whole saying the right things to myself, because I feel like I know it works. I know people do it. I'm like,
Do you feel embarrassed?
I feel phony. I feel
Sure.
Cheesy
Sure.
about it.
And that's your judge, right? That's
Yeah.
your judge telling you, hey, Colin, like, you don't get the right to talk this way. I know that you see everybody else do it and it works for them, but this won't work for you. It's just phony.
This won't work for you. This is not authentic. This isn't you.
So at some point, you thought that,
Yeah.
and you saw somebody else do it.
Yeah.
So now it's just a conversation with yourself about kind of looking inward. Like, I used to say to myself, like, what could it hurt?
Exactly.
What could it hurt?
Yeah, I've thought that before about many things. It's like, why not?
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into comedy. It was like, why not?
Right, why not? Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody, and
I had been asked multiple times to do it. And it was just like, because I was going to the comedy shows and consistently, and people noticed that, and they're like, why aren't you going up there? And I'm like, And then one day I was just
because
like,
your judge was telling you,
yeah,
you can't do that, Colin.
Yeah.
That's not for you.
You don't have enough material. You're not
Yep.
funny enough. All this stuff. And I'm just like, one day I was just like, yeah, I just should have said, F it, why not? Like, I'm doing it. Like, I know the good thing is I knew enough comedians and people that did comedy, or I'd talked to them, and I've gotten into comedy and I've always enjoyed it, that I knew I wasn't going to go up there and just get constant laughs.
Right.
I had realistic expectations,
Sure.
which was good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I did not go up there and make everyone laugh. Like, I was very nervous, and I got a couple laughs. I didn't completely bomb like I was talking about earlier. And that wasn't until like a year or so into comedy where I bombed. It still happens to people who have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. Jokes don't fall.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like, it could be a variety of things. Some people like to blame the crowd. It's not always the crowd. It's usually not the crowd. You'll have tougher crowds, but it's your job.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to be doing. And
well, that's accountability right there. When we grab onto our part, our role in whatever situation we're in, that's the only way we can change it. You know, so the fact that you're saying it's not the crowd, it's me.
Because I did think that at the beginning, like when and I'll still say it sometimes, like, man, this crowd sucks. Like, they're tough. Like, and sometimes some crowds are tougher to crack than other ones. Like, you know, you're at a comedy show, right? Like, do you know that? Or it's weird. But before we get too far into it, I'd usually do, like, as you know, I do the intro at the beginning.
Yeah.
I try to do like an intro where the person introduces themselves. And I wanted to start out by saying thank you for taking the time. I know we went back and forth for a little while on this. That seems to be the case with most of my guests these days. Our schedules are all crazy, and you also being a mom and working full time, and you also have a couple different side hustles, it seems like, as well. You're like me, who just
keeps taking on more.
Yeah, it keeps taking on more. But Lori Hopper, it's still Hopper, right? You're engaged, so no name change yet. Nope. I was like, I thought you were married for some reason. I'm probably not the first person to assume that.
Yeah, everybody thinks we're married.
Because you've been together.
We've been together, well, 3 years in January, but, like, you know, we have a kid and a house. And
you have everything that lines up with marriage.
Yep.
You're doing everything in a different order.
I told my mom, you know, because obviously raised Catholic, I told my mom when I met Tevin, I was like, we're going to get married, have kids, and move in together. I don't know which order, but
yeah, it's all going to happen.
We'll be doing those three. And she's like, it's okay.
That's okay. You don't have to do it in the right order. That's good that you didn't have. There's some hardcore Catholics still out there.
Yeah, no, they were very supportive of, you know, this is what we know you want, and timing is everything. It's not up to us, so.
Well, we won't talk about your 9 to 5. I don't talk about my 9 to 5 because it's boring. But tell me a little bit about the mental fitness coaching and what you've been doing with that and kind of how that started.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. So Lori Hopper, and I have been in sales myself since I was very young. My parents have a family business that we were kind of thrown into at a very young age. So I kind of ran into sales, and I was good at it, so I just kept sticking with it. And as I got older, I realized that what I really love about it is finding out what others don't know that they need, and then solving that problem, which comes across a lot in sales. You know, it's up to us to show you that you have a problem, and then that we have a solution for it.
Yeah.
So when I really got into kind of studying buyer behavior, I realized that it all goes back to, who we are inside as people and how we make decisions. And I learned that our past experiences are kind of like sunglasses that we wear. And when we look through certain things, whether it's buying something from me as your sales rep or saying something to your spouse or your friend, everything you say is through like these lenses and these experiences that shape you. And you can take the glasses off and you might have another pair of glasses on, and then you take those off and you might have another pair of glasses on.
Yeah.
You're always looking through something our past experiences make us who we are. So I really started diving into that to be a better person. I started coaching in 2020, and I never thought that I would really make a business out of it. It was just because I struggled mentally for a very long time.
You wanted to help other people.
Want to help other people.
Yeah.
And I struggled for a very long time. When I was 12, I was in a helicopter crash and diagnosed with PTSD and OCD after that. And then in 2017, I was at the Las Vegas shooting. And with the helicopter crash, it was I think it was the 90s, maybe early 2000s, but mental health wasn't really a discussion. Wasn't really, the only people that went to therapy were kids that had problems with their parents. I mean, in my world, that's the only people I saw go to therapy, So we didn't really.
Same for the most part.
Yeah, so we didn't really do therapy.
Or the really, really hyperactive.
Yeah.
Super
like the bad kids went to therapy.
Yeah.
It was, and I was always a good kid, so we never had those conversations at home, and so I developed OCD pretty intensely. Like flicking light switches,
checking,
doing what was that?
Checking.
Is that what it's called?
Well, like checking light switches.
Oh yeah, checking light switch. Like I'd flip them or tap my foot on
certain
the floor.
numbers and things like that. Okay.
And so, like I remember very, specific times, like at high school, that I'd be late going to the bathroom because I had to do some type of, just to get back to my
I've been late
class.
for so many things.
And you try to explain to somebody, I'm just doing these
can't.
compulsions, but you can't.
Yeah.
People think you're nuts.
Yeah.
So then I kept it to myself.
Yeah.
It's
very Catholic of you, but yeah.
And then, so this shooting, right? Like I was, it was something the whole world saw. The world expected me to have a response to it. So the public left space for me to have a response to it. So I did. I got into therapy. So shooting was on a Sunday. I was in therapy by Wednesday. So I took 4 days. That's it. And I got myself into therapy right away. And I can talk about the shooting easier than I can talk about the helicopter crash. And I think it's because I had bad thoughts. I instantly went to therapy. I talked about it, and I was with that therapist for 6 months specifically. And what it showed me is, okay, so when the fireworks, and I'm using quotations, went off, which were actually gunshots.
Yeah. Which everyone thought were fireworks, right?
Right, and the only reason why I knew they weren't fireworks is because
You've been around guns.
I've been around guns. I could smell the gunpowder. You could smell it.
Oh.
And also, it's very, very dry in Vegas. We don't have fireworks in October. That's not something that we have. Like, if you think about all the forest fires, they start in, like, the fall. Like, there's no fire.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I knew there wouldn't be fireworks. I'm like, why would they all of a sudden add fireworks on Sunday? I also wasn't drinking because I had to work on Monday, so I was like the sober friend on Sunday.
Yeah.
But like I ripped my friend to the ground. My fight or flight activated, and it was the best like cookie cutter explanation of a proper fight or flight response. I didn't feel right. My body told me to fight it, and we ran, or flight it. We ran, and I think a lot of times in our life now we have like the fight, flight, or freeze, and when our bodies are in constant state of crisis, like they are after the pandemic and during it and right now, that's why we're seeing such high rates of mental illness and suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we're in like this freeze part of fight or flight where our cortisol is released and our bodies are supposed to run away from whatever position we're in, because that's a physical response. A fight or flight is.
Yeah.
Our bodies are getting ready for us to run away from the lion, that's going to attack us 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And so what that showed me the proper way to have a fight or flight. That showed me exactly what it looked like. And I never forgot that. I didn't know what to do with that information. I just knew that'll come across someday. And then in 2021, I had a very high-risk pregnancy. I was at the ER like 10 times over 4 months with high blood pressure. I got diagnosed with severe preeclampsia, 29 weeks, which is very, very, very early. Usually it's the last part of your pregnancy. So I was sent in an ambulance up to Iowa City, and they told me, you'd be here until you deliver.
Ooh.
And it was really scary because, my baby was like 3 pounds. She wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I still had like 3 months to go. I wasn't even I just had gotten into my 3rd trimester. And so, I was like, she's tiny. I didn't know how we were going to figure this out. Like my body was basically fighting against the pregnancy. And the only cure for preeclampsia is to get rid of the placenta. Because basically the placenta is poisoning you. It's sending off hormones that are hurting your body.
Got it.
So you have to get rid of the placenta. You can't get rid of the placenta until you have the baby. And so that was like my 3rd really, really scary time in my life.
Yeah.
And I remembered this lesson that I learned from the shooting about fight or flight and what that feels like and what it looks like. Because I obviously fought, like, I want to get out of here. I don't know, but I couldn't leave the hospital. And I literally saw I could go left to PTSD and get my 3rd round of PTSD diagnosis, or I could go right and go down the avenue of post-traumatic growth. And I was already about 1.5 years into my coaching. So I understood how powerful our brain is when we give it the keys to drive. Before we started recording, we talked about how, 95% of our decisions are made subconsciously, and our conscious mind feeds into our subconscious mind, and we can't change our subconscious mind. We can only change our conscious mind by, providing positive affirmations, learning that happiness is a choice. And so when I took that right to PTG, I did it because I had to for my family at the time. I had to be like the positive one because I was the one that was going through all the stuff.
Yeah.
Physically. My partner was amazing, and he was, mentally as worked up as I was. So I took the right, and I went to PTG, and I looked for the gift in every single thing that I did. And I missed the entire summer of 2021, which I heard was really hot because we were in the hospital at 9 a.m. and we left at 9 p.m., and so I never was really out in the summer. And I remember finding like little gifts. Like I didn't have to be sweaty all summer. I didn't have to have another brutal Iowa humid summer. Like I got to watch my baby grow earthside for the entire third trimester, which normally would be in utero. You can see, I saw her triple in size, her head 10 times bigger, her heart holes closed, her eyes open. Like that's something that,
cool.
Only God gets to see. Right. And so it was cool that I could see it all earthside.
Yeah.
And at the time it was extremely difficult. I wanted to get home. We stayed in a hotel. I was pumping every 2 hours. If you know anything about that, literally every 2 hours I was pumping milk for my baby who couldn't even eat it.
Yeah.
And so that was when I chose post-traumatic growth. And then
you kind of had like a little cabin fever going on though.
Right? Yeah,
Get
exactly.
me out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I found the gift in all of the bullshit. And so when I was able to do with that, it gave me I knew what it felt like to not get help when I was 12. Personally, to not give myself the help I needed at age 12. I knew what it looked like when I reached out for the help that I needed. And so what could happen if I gave myself the help that I needed? And it was kind of these 3 different phases of how you can choose happiness as a habit and choose positive thoughts as a habit. And yeah, of course there's days that you can't do that, and it's really, really difficult, but knowing that you can is often, for me, half of the battle. Is just like 51% of the work is done if I can admit I have control over this. I can control this. This is how I can respond to X, Y, and Z. So that is how I got into coaching specifically, watching how much it helped me overcome. I'm a big fan of therapy. I've been going to therapy since I was in my teens. The difference between coaching and therapy is that therapy requires a diagnosis. Coaching is more for certain situations, one-off scenarios. Let's say if the pregnancy, what I was going through when I was at the hospital wasn't something I needed to be diagnosed because it was only happening for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
When I got home, it was a different type of anxiety that I felt. And so what's nice about coaching is it's a little bit more targeted at a certain experience. Let's overcome this experience and these thoughts that are getting you to this experience. Because words, that's why remember when we grew up and it was like sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you? Words are so hurtful, and words create culture, and culture creates behaviors, and behaviors create action. That's why our generation is opening up the world to question, why do we do things this way? Just because everybody else did doesn't mean that we have to do it that way.
Yeah.
And we're questioning, and I know that often we get told, millennials, they don't want to work, and we just don't want to work for no reason. We want to have buy-in to what we're doing every day. Yeah, purpose, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, coaching gave me purpose. That's a good word.
So did you have someone that coached you that you kind of sought out as a mentor, or this was just kind of where did you get your
credentials?
Coaching credentials, I guess.
Yeah.
From?
So
how did that come about?
So coaching is an unregulated industry. And which means that
It seems like a newer industry,
and
for sure.
yep, and I have a lot of therapists that went through coaching school with me because they were saying that the way that therapists are, like they only can be available in certain states, was very difficult during COVID. So I have she was a therapist for 20 years. She actually got her coaching certification so she could coach anybody in the country, because under her therapist license, she can only coach in Virginia. So I think it's more flexible. I think that's why people are jumping into it. But it's that stigma that people are so worried about admitting that they need therapy. Like I remember I told a friend, like, yeah, like before Tevin and I have Marigold, our daughter, I wanted to go to like therapy for a couple of courses, because we come from very different backgrounds, and I knew that for cultural reasons that might clash, different religions, and we had all this conversation before we even tried to get pregnant, And I remember one friend was like, are you guys not doing okay? And I was like, no, you need to go to therapy when you have a hole in the boat, not when the boat's sinking.
Yeah.
Like if you go and you can patch that little hole, no water gets in. And so, yeah, we were having some communication issues with like, well, should we baptize her Catholic or should we baptize her, Lutheran, or like those types of conversations, and how active families are. And we just come from different families. And so we wanted a non-biased party. And that's what's tough about therapy, is that especially when you, I have some like higher executives that I coach as clients, and there is a fine line between therapy and coaching, and it's my responsibility to say, hey, I think this is more of a therapy conversation. Let me refer you to XYZ. But therapy is about, why.
It's a good boundary.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not a therapist. I don't want to miss something and you hurt yourself because I missed something, And I'm, very aware of that, and it doesn't make me less than. It's just my ability to coach is better.
Your
limits.
Exactly.
I know my limits, and so I got my So when you have an unregulated industry, there's usually like a power header that sees that and makes something. So the International Coaching Federation, they've been around for 40 plus years. They have a program. It's basically, so I went to school. It was about 160 hours of school. It was intense. 100 hours of coaching people. Had to be at least 8 different people. And then a total of over 100 hours. Just to get like I have my ACC, which is like my associate in coaching. And then you have your PCC, which is professional. And then you have your PhD, which is your master. There's a couple of really good master coaches that I'm sure they have podcasts. I'm sure you've heard of them. But it's just the only difference is that they've helped more people and vast, like the pyramid gets bigger. They have more experience. But so I got my, there's only like 15,000 people in the world with my certification. So I got that in June of this year.
Was it expensive? I've heard some of them are expensive.
Oh yeah. Like I'm probably 30 grand in.
Really?
Yeah. 30, 40 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because, it's like I have an LLC. I just started this year, which I don't know why I didn't start prior, because I could have at least had some write-offs.
Yeah.
But now it's like, wow, it's like, I mean, it's my hourly charge is $150 an hour. Right. And so when people say it depends. It depends on where I'm getting the referrals from. But whenever I'm questioned about the dollar amount and then people understand what I had to do to get there, they don't really question it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Because I think people, even me, I didn't really know what kind of qualification, what kind of certifications, how much it costs until talking to people about it. But my first assumption was they just did a certificate,
right?
Took a couple-hour course and then they call themselves a coach.
because on Facebook it literally says become a coach in an hour for $7. I'm like, why didn't I sign up for that? I know, and so that's why I think
you want to have quality service, of course,
right? And in January of this year, I fell into a program called Positive Intelligence, and it really transitioned what I knew about coaching, because coaching is, the majority of half of the training is about questions. How can you ask better questions to get better answers? Because very often people don't really want to be I do not give advice and I do not consult. Those are consulting and coaching is two different things. Consulting is giving you advice. I've been here. This is what you should do. This is what I would do if I were you.
Yeah.
Coaching is, it doesn't matter what I've been through. It matters what you've been through. So let's talk about it. Let me hear you and tell me how you feel. And then I will basically repeat that back to you and decode it for you so you know exactly what to do, and it's with your buy-in because it's your decisions. It's
So do
your
you give
thoughts.
suggestions even, or
I'll ask you, what would you say would work in this situation? And then it forces you
lead
to have
them?
these thoughts. Right. And it's not even like leading, because sometimes I don't even know where we're going.
Okay.
It's almost just like I'm just going to ask the next best question
Okay.
to get us. So like in the beginning of coaching, and if you'd ever want to do one live, I'd be more than happy to. But like, I start my coaching with, what do you want to talk about today? And so it's always, I don't know. Oh, I don't really know. And people always have it, but they don't know if it's like they don't
How
know if it's
important it
serious
is.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it could be like every single Sunday I have to drive to my parents. It's an hour for dinner. I absolutely hate it. It ruins my weekend. That's all I think about on Sunday. Can you please help me reframe it into a way that doesn't affect my entire weekend?
So that's where the reframe in your.
Yep. That's where the reframe comes from, because
Okay.
I can't change your situation and your circumstances. Only you can, but I can help you reframe it so you can look at it differently.
Got it.
And I know you might think
Perspective.
yeah, exactly. And somebody might think like somebody's going to, pay you to coach them on how to look at dinner better. But how often is that ruining someone's weekend? Is that you're like, oh, my Sunday is all taken up? Because like, especially you struggle with ADHD and you have like object permanence in the time. There's like no time is fictional. So if you tell me I have one thing to do on Sunday, my whole day is swamped. I'm stressed. I have to be around during that time. So having conversations around why you're feeling that way, it's always much deeper. And typically it leads back to a time from when we were 12 or under. That's where the majority of our stuff that carries with us goes. And it's not, I had a wonderful childhood. It has nothing to do with who raised us or our parents or anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's just situations that we
It
come
can.
across. It can be. Absolutely it
Yeah,
can be.
yeah.
Absolutely it can be. Thank you for correcting me there. It definitely
Yeah.
can be. Everybody has a different situation with like where their trauma comes from.
Oh, for sure.
But, very often we lose that like luster of our our childhood curiosity and play.
Yeah.
And the hard part is curiosity turns into judgment very, very quickly. And if you're able to become more aware about your judgments that are leading to then your actions and your behaviors, if you are able to change that into curiosity, because our brains can only have one emotion at once. So like this mental fitness that I study, I look for these certain behaviors in myself. And when I see myself acting like an ass or having thoughts that are intrusive and they're not helpful, or I'm ruminating on something, I'll literally say to myself, like, not helpful, move on. Like, because until I admit to myself that the thoughts that you're having, they're not solving anything. They're actually making things worse. But saying stuff out loud is what gets stuff into our conscious mind, because we're constantly thinking to ourselves all the time. We're not really saying that out loud. So that's why like affirmations, when you say them out loud, I'm going to have a great day. Today I'm going to choose happiness. One of my favorite ones is, just for today, I'm not going to worry. And I'll say that every day. But I tell myself, just today, you don't have to worry. Just don't worry about stuff today.
Yeah. Start small.
Yeah. Because, if you think about, I know we talked about boundaries too. If you don't have a boundary set right away, you have to build a boundary up stone by stone at a time until, Humpty Dumpty's wall is back intact.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens, is those little tiny things sticking up for yourself here or there. And, and then all of a sudden you've built, I don't want to say a bubble because it seems like you're alone. You've built like a safe space that you're able to kind of sit at and take chances and take risks from and step away when you feel safe. But when our mind doesn't feel safe, we can't problem solve. We talked about the fight or flight. So when our fight or flight activates, our frontal cortex is completely gone. It completely shuts down because it's because if you think about it, our brain is an operating system that's literally over 2,000 years old. So like I have an iPhone, we get a new operating system 5, 6, 7 times a year.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having this run on iPhone 1? And now it's on iOS 1000.3?
Yeah.
But our bodies have changed with the time, but our brains are not as fast. So when we are activating, when we get a stressful text from a partner or a parent or work or a stressful email, cortisol is released. Our body is getting ready to get ourselves out of the situation, except we don't leave because it's chronic stress. And that is why chronic stress is so much more dangerous than eating unhealthy or anything else, because it's a constant state of your body being in fight or flight. And when our body's in fight or flight, again, to self-preservation mode. So if you think about a self-preservation mode, you're not at your best. You're just trying to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You can't make decisions that you would normally. You're making decisions based off of fear, which then creates remorse, always.
Yeah.
And when I like to use I'm a visual person, so when we make decisions based out of fear, we're basically pushing ourselves into the situation. Like, I'm pushing myself into this because I want to get through this. When we are making decisions grounded in love or theory, we're being pulled into it. So it's a little bit of a different, someone pushes you into something versus like, oh, this is pulling me into it and I feel good and this is where I should be. But when our fight or flight's activated, that part shuts down. And so what I teach is what to do when your fight or flight activates, because it's just a mental command muscle. And when you see yourself floating off, you bring yourself back. When you see yourself floating off, you bring yourself back. And I still float off, and I meditate 30 minutes a day at least. And my mind still rolls off and I have to pull it back. But if I never had to pull it back, that would mean I wouldn't be exercising that muscle of, saying like, ooh, this thought is a choice and I don't have to think this way. And constantly doing that until your brain rewrites itself, which, like the whole theory of like the 21 days to start a new habit.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
So that comes from our neurons creating, basically when we do something new for the first time, we create a new neural pathway. And then if you keep doing that, it becomes like a gravel road to like asphalt and then to concrete. And then it's like a 5-lane highway and woohoo, yeah. I know how to do this. I can make this decision. And everything we do gets like that. So if you think about like, did I shut my garage door? Did I just run that red light? Did I tie my shoe? Those are all things that we've done so many times. They're on like a super speed highway. Well, so are our decisions. So my response to going to dinner on Sunday night, that's a decision that I made for it to be negative. When my friends ask me to go drink, if I get upset every time, that would be my choice to respond that way. And I've responded that way so much, it just comes easily. And I think that's what everybody else is doing. It's because I've made it that way. So when you catch yourself and you say, hey, that thought's not helpful, and you do that enough, you start to create new neural pathways, a new, 5-lane highway.
Yeah.
Towards decisions that are making you better and feel better, instead of decisions that you thought you didn't realize were decisions.
Okay. Yeah. That is a good thing to note. You brought something up about meditation, and that's something I've been trying to get into, but I don't know if it's creating that habit or the discipline. What would you suggest as far as like a starting point or how you meditate? Because I know there's people that do it with music, and there's some people that do it without music and breathing. And what's kind of worked for you, and how did you get started into meditation? Because obviously you probably didn't start at 30 minutes a day.
No. Oh gosh, 3. Yeah. I can't do for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
This is awful. I thought it was so awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did 3 minutes a couple times a day, and it was difficult. 2 minutes actually, a couple times a day, 6 minutes a day.
Did you use like an app or something?
Yeah. Or? So earlier I mentioned Positive Intelligence is a book written by Shirzad Chamine. He wrote it in 2012.
Okay.
And what he found out, it's now been translated into I think 20 different languages, and so it's not just like a Western civilized. I mean, it's everybody has these and everybody responds in these ways. And
human.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It basically talks about that we have a judge and our 9 saboteurs. One of the saboteurs, for example, is like a hyperachiever or a people pleaser. That's one of the saboteurs. So on the other end of that, we have 5 sage powers that allow us to overcome our saboteurs. So a sage power, empathy, is a huge one. If you think about just being able to, curiosity is another one. If you feel like your judge is being really harsh today, get curious. What is this person doing that's activating you to think so harshly of them? Because people are just our mirrors. When what we see in other people is what we are either afraid to find in ourselves or what we want to see in ourselves. But often our mind just views other people as like a mirror. And so that's why projection is such of a hot topic with relationships, because when you're with somebody often, you start to project your feelings onto them. When they do stuff that you and you would do, you would respond that way. And so we're constantly, trying to, especially someone like me who has PTSD, and I have a very high hypervigilance of needing to know where my exits are. If a sound, like if I was in Home Goods the other day and somebody dropped something, and first thing I went to is that's a gun, and then I had to tell myself, there's no gun in Home Goods. Everything's okay. It was probably just like a Scrabble set for $100 that fell on the ground.
Yeah.
Why the Scrabble sets are $100, I don't know. But I always see them there, and that's probably all it was. And so knowing that and stopping myself. But anyway, so with meditation, positive intelligence, he has what's called PQ reps. And it's basically just focusing on the physicality of who you are. Because if we think about, people are like, I went to Gordon Ramsay's new restaurant. It was an out-of-body experience. It was so good. Well, like, we live out of body all the time. Tell me the last time that you were walking on the street and paid attention to all the muscles that were moving in your feet and your thighs and your legs. We just walk, right?
Yeah, I just walk.
You just walk. And so when you hear people say, hey, if you're, hijacked, or if you're starting to have intrusive thoughts, they say, like, find 5 things by you that's green, 4 things that's blue, 3 things that's yellow. That's just grounding yourself to get you out of the fight or flight and to say, you are physically okay. You are not in danger. Exactly, back into reality. And so that's what his meditation is, but it's a PQ reps, and because positive intelligence, positive quotient. So we have our IQ, our EQ, and he teaches PQ. So it's basically your ability to respond positive to situations. And it increases, I think it's like 17 out of the 18 different functionalities of EQ. It's even shown atrophy on the right side of your brain within like 8 weeks after MRI imaging of this type of meditation. I mean, sometimes when I look back at stuff that I wrote in a journal, February, March, I'm like, I can't believe I thought that way. I mean, that's how quickly that if you pay attention within a year, you can literally change the entire way that your brain works. And it's cool because sometimes I feel like I'd get 2 steps ahead and 8 steps backwards. And I'm like, I'm never going to get past this point. It's just going to be me. I'm always going to struggle with depression and anxiety. And this is just something I'm going to have to deal with. I'm going to have to explain to my partner. He knows, but I'm going to have to explain to my family. This is just me. Yeah. I have good days. I have bad days. And now it's that, but it's like, it's more, I have way more good days than bad days. And my life didn't used to be like that. I mean, I remember I had a friend ask me, when's the last time you had a whole day? Or like, how many weeks have you gone without negative thoughts? And I'm like, an hour? I don't know. Every day is sad to me. I was at a point where that was, And so PQ put it back into my hands, the more time I spent with PQ. So I started at 2 minutes, 3 times a day. And my favorite way to meditate is to pay attention to sounds. So, and Positive Intelligence has an app, but like it'll say, work really hard to find a sound that's far away. And you're focusing on stuff that you normally wouldn't focus on. Whether it's, I live kind of by Moline Airport. Okay. So I'll try to hear the airplanes. I'm not that close, but the interstate, Yeah. And then it'll say, think about what's the closest thing that you can hear right now. And usually it's my breathing or my voice, or the recording, and so what's nice is then I just think about myself, and I constantly, and yes, I'm getting pulled out to other things, but I'm pulling myself back in by saying, hey, not thinking about that right now. And now, I can get 3 or 4 minutes in before I have a thought. And the whole point of that is that we then know what it feels like to not have thoughts, because I'm not thinking about like, wow, like this microphone is so dark and it's fluffy, and I'm just looking at it and I'm admiring those qualities of it, but I'm not thinking about those qualities. I'm just letting my mind be cleansed of thoughts.
Yeah.
But meditation is definitely a practice that you have to go up on and meditate.
Yeah.
Whatever
I know you got to start small.
Yep,
I know that.
Start small, take 2 minutes, put it into a routine that you're already doing. I always tell my clients, like, what's something you do every morning? Brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Do it while you brush your teeth. Think about the bristles, where they're touching your teeth, your gums. I mean, when's the last, when you wash your hands, do you feel the temperature of the water? Are you feeling like the soap rubbing in between your 2 fingers? How much tension there would be there? It's those little things. You're just turning off your fight or flight. And we all have it on constantly, especially during this pandemic. And so it might be really difficult at first, and you might think you're not doing anything. It took me about 5 weeks before I started noticing, and it was because I stopped. And I was like, whoa, I'm kind of all over the place. So it does take time. Just like, like our medication. It takes 4 to 6 weeks anytime you add or remove. And it's the same thing. And what I always tell people is if it worked right away, it's not there to stay. If you have to work at something, and you have to put like that grit in to understand that it's what the worth is. So like anything that's worth it, there's always work involved. And when we get stuff easily, it quickly floats away.
Yeah.
And like, I listened to an episode, that talked about like mind altering drugs and how you don't utilize any of them at all. And it's so true, because when you alter your mind, you're fixing it. If your mind's not always it doesn't always have the same place to come back home. It doesn't have like a reset button. So when we're taking mind-altering drugs, they do, they can change the way our medication works, because of that. But yeah, so meditation, start small, focus on, one that I like to do that I started with is if you take your first two fingers, your index fingers, and you rub them together, try to feel tension on both sides of the finger. So your left finger and your right finger, try hard to feel both sides of the tension. I had a friend do that for 36 minutes as she was prepping for a surgery. She said fire started between her fingers because she was rubbing them so much. But it allowed her to remember that she's here. Do you remember when you would get hiccups and somebody would tell you to like focus on something or scare somebody?
Yeah, scare, hold your breath.
Yeah, it's just doing something
different.
It's the similar concept. It's
okay.
just, when you have a really good stare and you're like, don't interrupt me, I'm having a good stare. Because you're not thinking about anything. There's no thoughts. That's why it's so relaxing. So meditation.
Happens while I'm driving a lot.
Great. But, yeah, I mean, when I drove here, when I was passing River Drive, I saw some trees before that I know I've been there my entire life that I was like, I've never noticed how pretty those are. It's just paying attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've done that even subconsciously, like been trying to notice more things and with my perspective in general, I've been trying to change and work on for years now. Mainly the last couple of years, I've been really hyper-focused on my mental health. Like,
what have you done that's worked?
When you brought up empathy, that was a big one for me. Meeting people where they're at, and realizing that, some people aren't as aware as you are. The more aware and the more empathetic that I've been, the more I've just been aware of everything around me. And
it's when you turn something on and you're like I'll notice when I talk with, when I have a client that, because my program is a 6-week program that it's Shazad's program, but I'm one of his coaches. And it's a 6-week program to get the base understanding of how your brain works, the different saboteurs and sage that are in play, and basically understanding the ground of it. And then utilizing that for our coaching for the rest of your life. And I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. That happens.
What were we talking about?
I was talking about empathy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you said something after empathy, meeting people where they are.
Yeah, meeting people where they're at, realizing that they're not as aware as I am.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
It gets hard when you start becoming aware. You're like, these things are everywhere. I'm stressed. This is worse. Like, I'll have my clients come to me usually about week 3, and they're like, my judge is everywhere. It's never been this bad. I don't know what's going on.
Overwhelming.
This is hard. Yes, this is overwhelming. And I'll tell them it's because you've never looked for it. Now you're looking for it. So you're finding it because we're looking for it. We're causing it to come out into the spotlight and then saying, I don't need your help anymore. I don't want your judgment comment. My hyperachiever isn't needed today. I don't want to people please today. And so, yeah. And then when you start realizing that what my partner and I or my fiance and I struggle with, we said partner all the time because the judgments we got in the hospital when I would say boyfriend, they would just be like, so we said partner. And then I started saying her dad. That was easier. And now we're engaged and I still say partner. But
yeah.
It is crazy though how you change the word boyfriend or girlfriend to partner and people treat you differently. Words, they matter.
Yeah.
They represent different things. But yeah, it's hard to be self-aware when nobody else is.
Yeah.
And you're like, sometimes you want to tell people you are doing this to yourself.
You know what's got me into that mindset though, right?
What?
Recovery.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I work a 12-step program.
Sure.
So doing that has made me so aware. And I've talked to many people in recovery. I was like, I wish people who aren't addicts, who aren't alcoholics, work these steps because they can be beneficial for everyone. It's just an inventory.
Absolutely, an inventory of our thoughts and
everything.
And yes, and our decisions and
how
our
they
being,
affect people.
how they affect people. Yep, and understanding that you are not your own world. So what you do has consequences for everybody that you know and everybody involved, and understanding what a part of that is your responsibility and what is everybody else's is such a I remember I read this book right before we went on a big vacation with our family to Hawaii, and it was like, 15 of us, one area.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it said, like, if you think you're enlightened, go on a trip with your family.
Oh.
Because we get along very well, but being away and stress is, traveling is so stressful. And I just remember having like so many different instances, like, wow, like just because you feel that way doesn't mean your sister does or your mom does or your dad does. And so it's a good drop yourself into something and see how that, whoever you're showing up as today, drag and drop that person into a situation that you've gone before that wasn't helpful and see if the new you would navigate that situation differently.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that, things that happen, from like age 12 and down is like what shapes us of the people that we are. And the best comparison I ever heard of was like a cast. Like you're 5 years old, you fall off the monkey bars and you break your arm, you get a cast.
Yep.
And then 6-8 weeks, I've never broken a bone, but I think it's like 8 weeks later, you get the cast off.
It depends, but yeah, it's about right.
About right that.
6 weeks, 8 weeks.
And like your bone is healed, but you don't take the cast off. And then you're 5, and then you're 10, and then you're 15, and then you're 20. And that cast was helpful to you for that 8 weeks when you were going through that, but it's not helpful to you anymore. So that's what like our saboteurs are, is like they helped us as children be kids, but then we don't like shake those off and like start fresh and a new set of rules. Like,
stuck to us.
Yeah. Like I've had people that say I don't eat after 8, and I'm like, oh, why? Like that's a great idea, but why? I don't know. We just don't. We just never have. But it's like, but why?
Yeah.
Do you know why you're doing that? And so, and
it is a pretty healthy thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's because like your body stops digesting and it would just go right to fat because you're not like utilizing the energy source or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we do things that we don't know why we're doing them, we don't really have the passion to like complete them. And I think that's when like doubt comes in. Is like, why am I even doing this? Like people need people and people need purpose. And when we come together with people and purpose, it's so powerful for us because that's what we thrive on. We thrive on, like our brains are here just to keep us alive. And so we have to remember that when we're putting ourselves in risk-taking situations like you starting a podcast or, you starting, even hosting your own comedy shows. I mean, if you think about how uncomfortable you probably felt.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably similar to an uncomfortable feeling when something bad happened to you. But you are aware that I can have an uncomfortable feeling, but it can be pushed into something good.
Yeah.
And that is because you've had experience in the past where you took a risk and it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah.
So, if we push our brain to the limits of what we know that it can do, but we think it can't, more often than not, it's just a mental barrier that we have to really break down that we've built up.
Yeah. One saying I've heard a lot is that I really try to live by is get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
Or get more comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah, I think is the exact quote. I have no idea where it came from.
But
I've heard
it's
it
so
repeated
right.
a million times, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, and if you think about it.
So that's where the growth happens.
Yeah, because I never can say this word, familiarity.
Familiarity, yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
tongue twister.
It gives us like a sense of like safety. Like, oh, I know what I'm getting into. I don't have to worry about this. And that's why when we say get comfortable with getting uncomfortable, it's because when we try new things, it's uncomfortable because if you think about it, we've never done it before.
Yeah.
I've never lived on Sunday, December 18th and did a podcast with a kid I went to high school with. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I can take my past experiences and shape it to help me prepare for this, but I'm going to be a little uncomfortable until I get through it, and it's just like, just knowing that that's okay to be uncomfortable and to talk about it. I feel like, when we talk about things that we typically keep in silence, that's when like the shame gets pushed away, is when we're talking, the only way that shame goes away is if we bring it out, the situation to the light,
Yep.
And I feel like with mental health,
that's why therapy is so important.
It is so important. And if people were more open about the fact that they went to therapy, I think more people would go. And so, but you also don't have to share that you're in therapy. That's, and that also can be a personal thing too. I just hope for anyone that's in therapy that they don't feel ashamed of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That if anything, I always say this joke that like people go to therapy to handle relationships with the people that won't go to therapy. Because if like,
yeah.
You mentioned, you asked if I had a coach and I brought up positive intelligence. So yes, I have like 3 coaches. I have an accountability coach that I meet with every Monday for 20 minutes. And she literally, I tell her what I want to get done because I have so much going on in the past week.
Yeah.
She holds me accountable to it. She's like literally a stranger. I don't even know who she is. But for some reason, I'll be in my head and I'll be like, Danny's going to ask me on Monday if I did this. I better get it done. I guess that's what I pay for, is for that accountability piece. And then I have 2 other coaches for more of like when I get stuck on something and like mental help. And then I also have a therapist. But every good coach has a coach. Every good coach is a great coach, because it's difficult to not take on your clients' issues, because especially I'm a very, very heavy empath. So I feel people like even when somebody hurts me as a friend and they do bad things to me, I'm always like, sometimes I think to myself like, oh gosh, they must be in a lot of pain.
Hurt people. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they must be in a lot of pain. They're projecting this on me. And I try to look at it that way because it's easier for me to stomach. But yeah. And yeah, I mean, there's times when I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my coaching, and I'm still having a rough time. And that's just when I'm open with all the people that are around me. And I'll ask. I'm a big feedback person, which you have to take with a grain of salt because people always want to give you feedback.
Oh, yeah.
And
unsolicited.
So especially if you have kids.
Oh, people want to tell you how to parent.
But then like dogs too. I mean, like we got a dog and everyone tells you how to parent. We have a kid, everyone tells you how to parent.
Yeah.
But just being open with yourself. The only inventory you need to take is really with yourself.
Yeah.
Is just saying, am I where I'm at today? Am I happy about it? If I'm not, how can I change it? And something I've been practicing all year is blameless discernment, which is really difficult for me. I always have to have something to blame, even if it's myself. So blameless discernment is, I didn't go outside for a walk, so I didn't get my walk in. I didn't go outside for my walk. I'm lazy. Oh, I should have done that. I didn't do X, so Y didn't happen. And it's so much of a different mind concept of like, I didn't stay within my boundaries, so I failed at X. And then it allows me to detach the failure from me as a person and say, well, it came down to the action that I made, not Lori. It came down to the action that Lori did, not who Lori is as a person. Because it's a lot easier to swallow that and to detach yourself from that negative feeling of, this is just who I am. Because, people will say, this is just who I am. Oh, that's just who they are. They're never going to change. They're just rude to everybody. You just have to get over it.
I hate hearing that now.
I know. And I'm just like, no. They can be different if they wanted to be. So I'm not going to change because they are unwilling to. I'm just not going to work with them.
Yeah.
And I'll just back away. Or my boundary will be, I'm not going to work with somebody that doesn't respect their own boundaries. And so that's why like a big word for me this year is, the blameless discernment and helping others set boundaries just because.
This is the way I am is such a cop-out.
Oh, it's such a cop-out. This is just the way I am. Well, we could all be like that. And we've made choices to not respond to situations that way. And it's also
ignorance.
Yes, and it's another thing if somebody says, this is just the way I am, can you help me? Like, there'll be times I'll go to my partner or my fiance and I'll be like, I have these feelings about X, and I know they're not true, but could you just, like, help me get over it? Because I know that you didn't do this, but, like, my mind's being weird. Just help me. And he knew from the beginning that, I struggled with mental illness, and so I was very lucky I could be open up with him in the beginning, which is probably why we moved so quickly.
But you didn't, like, put up a
I didn't,
facade.
And I was like, I don't know, 30-something, so I was like, I'm just too old for this, But yeah.
No games, this is it.
This is it, and no wonder it worked, right? Because, the past, gosh, I serial dated. I thought I have to date a couple people, I need to go on dates, like 3, 4, or 5 dates a month. That's what my friends would always tell me. You got to get 3, 4, or 5 dates a month. And I'd be like, I don't even want to go. I hate these people. I don't want to go on these dates. And then I stopped doing that because I wasn't, and when I say 4 to 5 dates a month, it wasn't that high, but it felt like my friends were like, you got to go on one a week.
Pushing that, yeah.
Like, I don't want to go on one a week. I'd rather go on a date with myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's dating is a whole nother hurdle when it comes to mental health.
Did you meet your partner, your fiance, I should say?
Yeah.
That's bad.
I know.
I like that title better.
Fiance.
It's just a cool word. But did you meet him here or when you were in Vegas?
Here. Yep,
Okay.
I met him here on a dating app.
So God, don't bring up dating apps, please.
They're all, no, and what's funny is
I have such a bad relationship with dating
they're
apps.
awful. They have ruined dating.
Yes.
100% ruined. The fact that Like, I think about all of the things. My parents have been together, I think, like 42, 41, 42 years this year. And I think about how different their relationship would be if there was dating apps. Because our parents, they just had to say, like, this is annoying about you, but I love you, so I'm going to overcome it. I'm gonna get past it. Instead, on dating app, it's just like, I'm over you. I'm just gonna go to the
I'm
next
just
best
gonna
thing.
move to the next one.
Move to the next best thing, and it's almost like a business. And I think it's because
It's like a resume, like interviewing.
it's stressful.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived in Vegas, I helped like a few guy friends like make a profile. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
You have to make like this cryptic, like.
it's crazy. I put on mine praying hands because I was so sick of all the disgusting things I would get. It literally said Catholic praying hands. I still got terrible stuff. I mean, people are just awful.
Yeah.
And then you move to like Bumble, which is like, okay, at least the girl's making the first one.
Was this
And-
Tinder? You said Tinder first?
Yeah.
Oh, Tinder's savage.
I know, it's so savage.
Yeah.
And then you have like, there was this one called, I think it was called Hey Vina. Hey Vina, and it was for platonic relationships. So when I moved to Vegas, you know Bumble BFF? You ever heard of that?
I know what Bumble is.
So you have Bumble, which is like to find a partner.
Yeah.
And then you have Bumble
There's
BFF, which
okay.
is platonic relationships. So like I moved to Vegas, I had no idea. You don't know how to meet people. Like, how do you meet people as an adult? You just like point them out and say like, you look fun. Let's go hang out. It's weird, right?
It is. Yeah.
So they had an app. It was called Bumble BFF. And but then the Hey Vina was just platonic. So you didn't have to have like a Bumble profile and a Bumble BFF profile. It was just one profile on Hey Vina. And I met all my girlfriends through there. Then they would meet another girl and we'd all hang out and our squad just got like this huge.
Yeah.
But that is the power of what meeting online could bring. But it doesn't happen that way with dating. You know, it's but yeah, so I actually deleted all my dating apps before the new year in 2019 because I was like, they make me feel like crap.
Yeah.
It's constant rejection, even if it's like something that I thought I wanted, and then I get it, and I'm like, this is weird. I don't want this, or you know, just like you think you want
As a
attention.
woman, it's totally different.
Oh yeah, and I mean it's and I'm sure like you know, I mean I know that
The
there's
numbers are
both
totally different.
Oh yeah, I know there's both sides of it.
Yeah.
And but I deleted them all, and then because I just said I'm done with this. This isn't helpful. I've never had a good experience on
Yeah.
ever. So I deleted it, and then I was really sick the first Monday of the year, which is always a big day for salespeople because it's like we're at zero. Everything's wiped out. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And I was sick, so I'll never forget it. It was January 6th. I was sick, and I met him that night at a coffee shop. We both don't drink coffee. I had water. He had a smoothie. So lame. At Caribou over on 53rd. And then the rest was history. I just met him and I knew something was different about him. But what's crazy is that, yeah, I did delete all the apps and then I downloaded them that day because I was bored at home. Boredom is usually the reason why I would get on those apps. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find a compliment today and feel good about myself. I
Yeah.
mean, you know?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so when
Which app was it?
Tinder.
Oh.
I know. I can't believe it. That's why it's like I told him on our wedding invitations, we should put like, you know, swipe left or swipe right for like yes or no.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that about us, and he's a little more reserved about it. I'm a lot more like open
Yeah.
because I have felt shame for so much of my life for
Yeah.
like just my past. And there's not even really anything shameful about it
Yeah, it's
except
kinda
I've made
funny.
it that way.
And, yeah.
You know, and I'll have a lot of people say like, I didn't know you struggled with this. Like you're like the fun, you know, and it's like, well, I do, but I'm really, I'm like on or I'm off. And when I'm off, I didn't know how to navigate that. I just thought it was, you know, that I was like broken or something was wrong with me when it was really, I just depleted all of my energy in like big bursts. And then I would need time to like self-preserve. But I thought that was like something that was bad for me. And now I've reframed it like, well, no, like you have days that you're really on and you have days that you're off and you're equal the same. And so now I've had those conversations with myself to know that just because I'm not the party friend anymore. Because that was always tough. Like when I stopped drinking and be like, well, but you're the fun friend. It's like, well, I can have fun without doing that. You know, like I don't like who I am when I'm really drunk or the next morning I feel bad about my actions. I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
And half the time I didn't even do anything. But it's just the depressant of alcohol on your brain.
Feeling like
It makes
crap.
you feel like you did this. And I'd ask my friends, like, did I do anything embarrassing last night? It's so nice not to have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
That is one of the when I count my gratefuls of being sober, that's one of the big ones. And it's such an easy thing to point out, but it's so, oh man,
Well, and gosh, how much you get of your weekends back?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can go to bed at like midnight and be up at 8. I mean, I don't do that now, but when like before, and I mean, now I'm in bed by 10 and I'm up by like 7, but 6 or 7 whenever Marigold wakes up. But
Yeah.
I can't, like, even in Vegas last week, I think I had like I did have one drink and I had like 3 sips of it. It was just more of like a casual, like it's probably my first, oh my gosh, I bet it was my 3rd or 4th drink since I got pregnant. I don't really ever drink, and I never really struggled with alcohol. I always was able to say,
Yeah,
let's not drink it anymore.
You just know it's not healthy.
I just know it's not for me.
Yeah.
And so, but I was that person that said, "Why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? What's going on?" You know, I was that person. I had no idea
I used to be that person.
I had no idea. And I think it's because misery loves company, right?
Oh yeah.
And so if I'm making a bad decision, I want you to make it too with me. And if you're not, I'm like, "Why aren't you? You care about yourself?
What's
Why are
wrong
you
with
doing this?" You know, I mean, yeah.
I used to hate positive people.
No, there is a difference between toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is like, everything's great, nothing's going to go wrong, everything's wonderful.
Where you got the blinders on.
Yep.
I wouldn't say I hated them, but they annoyed me because I was on a positive. I was not in a good place.
Right. And so it's hard to.
And I post positive stuff all the time. I'm like the guy I didn't like.
Right.
Which is hilarious.
Oh, it's so funny when I remember people would post like, "Everybody have a great Monday morning, Monday motivation." I'd be like, "I roll city," you know. And now I'm just like, "Hey, girl, happy Monday."
Yeah.
But sometimes it's because if I don't, I'm not gonna have a happy Monday. I have to trick myself sometimes into knowing, you know, if it's like, you know, I ran a 5K this summer, and I do not run. I do not work out. That's not really my thing. I have a working treadmill. Like, I work and I have a treadmill I walk on.
Oh, nice.
Like a standing desk with I'll try to get like.
I thought about that.
It's literally changed my life. When I don't do it, I can tell, and I'll get like 4 to 5 miles in before like 11 p.m. I mean a.m.
That's
Just like checking emails and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it really lowers my level of stress, and I think it's because, again, that fight or flight, when that's activated, we have like that cortisol buildup and that adrenaline. We don't ever get rid of it. But when we're walking and we're doing physical stuff, that's how we get rid of those kinds of things. And so that's what's nice, is that when you're like walking and I'm getting like emails and I'm stressed, I do feel better because, you know, endorphins are a longer lasting positive hormone versus dopamine fuels us to. Dopamine is helpful when I was training for my 5K. I know I don't want to do this, but I have to wake up tomorrow morning and run. So if that's just what you're going to do. The dopamine fueled me to do that because I was looking for the future. But endorphins are what kept me until the next morning when dopamine would shoot in, and I would say, okay, I got to do this. I have a goal to reach. That's why, like, if you've ever seen like people with ADHD struggle, I believe it's from like. It's like the levels of their adrenaline that our brain makes. It's like norepinephrine, but it's similar. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then dopamine, they just overshoot each other. They don't hit. So that's why you'll have people that with ADHD that can focus, hyper focus on something, or can't focus at all. One or the other. All in or all out. It's literally because the hormones aren't working right. That's why it's like, had I have known about these different illnesses, had a lot of us known about these illnesses as children, I can imagine how different. That's why, like, I want to be the person advocating for people to get tested for everything, because diagnosis, like, sometimes I think that people are scared of diagnoses, but it's just a blueprint for answers.
Yeah, just learning more about yourself. I'm just like on a journey to learn more and more about me.
Yeah, and you're changing judgment into curiosity. So before, what you sound like is you used to judge yourself for your actions, and now it's like
still do.
Of course, we all do, right?
Yeah.
But and that's the whole point, is that we're never going to be 100% kind to or you know, we're never going to be 100% on, and I think that right there is blameless discernment, understanding. I am still Lori, and all my glory that I need to be every day. Whether 100% of my gift of the day is 40%. If I'm given 40%, I'm still at 100%. I'm showing up how I said I could show up today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most powerful thing, is giving yourself permission to take a break when needed. Giving yourself permission not to be perfect. Because when we do it to ourselves, we can do it to others. Because I always say, if working hard on ourselves worked, it would have worked already. And so if we can't give anything to others we don't have, if we don't show ourselves empathy, if we don't show ourselves curiosity over judgment, if we don't give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, we can't give that to anybody else. So that's why when people talk about, gotta love yourself before you love anybody else. There's a lot of truth to that because
There is.
the reason why some people struggle and they'll say, I'm doing everything right. Like I'm loving them how I would want to be loved. But maybe the way you're being loved is detrimental to you. But you think it's okay. So then you love others the way that you love yourself. But very often we don't love ourselves the way we should. So I think a lot of times when we see relationships fall apart, it's very often because someone's like, I was doing everything right. And the other person's like, I was doing everything right. But were you doing everything as a team together? And were you communicating what was right and what was wrong? Because until we ask somebody how they want to be treated, like that golden rule of treat everybody how you want to be treated, I'm not a fan of that. Because how I want to be treated is very different than how Tevin, my fiance, wants to be treated. And if I treat him how I want to be treated in a certain situation, we fight. So I've asked.
I think some of the basics are there.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But
like just
as a whole.
Yeah. Just
like
certain
not everybody has. Yeah.
Yeah. Just certain situations. Like
it's not a cookie cutter thing.
Yeah. Exactly. But just I always say like lead with kindness and empathy and only because you can't fight fire with fire. You don't really only fight fire. I mean, you can only fight anything with love. As corny as that sounds, there really is no other. There's really no other way to get past anything if there isn't some sense of respect and love in the situation.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's see if we're getting close to time here. See if I missed anything. We actually covered everything that you sent to me.
Is there anything that you specifically?
I guess as far as like, personally, since you're not charging me for this, I want to ask you one question.
Please. And I'm serious. If you want to do a live where I'm coaching you live, I mean, you'd have to. It'd be up to you if you want to stream it. Obviously, there might be some breakthroughs, but. It's really powerful listening to other people get coached because breakthrough and aha moments are contagious. So when we can learn other people's aha moments and breakthroughs, we don't have to go through the pain ourselves, but we can learn through others, and then we become closer as humans.
I've wanted to do more live stuff because that's where a lot of things are going. People are really into the live stuff. But
even if you and I wanted to record something.
Yeah.
And maybe your promise is just that you're not going to edit it for parts that made you uncomfortable or something. You know what I'm saying?
Like, yeah. I hardly ever edit anything I say. So usually it's something somebody else says where it's like,
Let's see if this is edited out.
Test.
Testing.
But
yeah, ask me anything.
No, I've been personally struggling with like what I want to do with my life. That whole big question.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of things that I'm doing outside of my 9-to-5 job. My 9-to-5 job has gotten to the point where I enjoy it. I know I'm good at it. I like the people I work with for the most part.
Taking up too much space? Too much time?
Yeah, it's just like I want to do my own thing, but I also need money.
Yep. Stable income.
So it's like,
yep.
That's the reason I took this job, because I was working for myself, but I was not in the right mental space to work for myself.
Sure.
But now I'm at a point where I can, and I want to use some of my my talents and skills to help other people, mainly with their business. Like I've talked to a couple people because I notice things a lot with I went to school for marketing
too,
but I notice a lot of things with social media, and people, as much as we use social media, people don't know how to use it.
No. Are you active on LinkedIn?
Yeah, not as active as I should be.
That's a whole nother. I've been really focusing on LinkedIn and the amount of organic free. You could not get the organic content sharing ability on LinkedIn. The reach, thank you. You cannot get the reach on any other, that with the algorithms are. I'll connect you with this person that they posted every day for the last.
I need to start a
1,016
LinkedIn page
days.
for the podcast.
Yes,
I don't know why I haven't. I've thought about it
because there's so many platforms. There's a lot of platforms. I would say you just want clarity. You just want to know, like, here's all my gifts. This is what I'm good at. What can I do with it that can make me money?
Exactly. Because I know.
What are you good at?
Well, one, talking to people.
Okay. What else?
Listening as well. Listening and talking to people.
What do you do with the information when people talk to you and you listen to them? What's going on in your head? What are you trying to do with the information?
I'm trying to think of how I can learn more about them and how I can learn more about me
And
as
do
well.
what?
Grow. Become a better version of me, I guess. But I think my brain's just so overloaded with fear. Like, there's part of me that wants to that says, "Hey, quit your job, start really getting into content creation, and creating content. Whether it's comedy, I could do it for comedy and also as a mental health advocate. So I've actually made money off social media, and I still make money off of social media. Not very much, but I have that door open to me.
Absolutely.
Because for like Instagram and Facebook, you have to be like invited to be like a content creator that actually makes money. And Instagram was the only one I have right now where I'm in the creator
mode, yeah.
Creator mode or whatever, where I can make money off of so many views. Mainly reels are the way to go.
I've heard that too.
They push the reels heavily. I wish they paid me for my personal account because my comedy ones have blown up. A couple of them have blown up, and I haven't made any money off. I'm like, man, if I wish I would have posted this on the other account, I would have made.
Maybe you can
Repost them.
It's your content.
That's true, but it doesn't really fit.
Sure.
It would just be so out of left field. Like, why is this getting posted on here? If I had a good mental health joke that I would like to be able to combine both of them into one.
Well, many people see humor as a defense mechanism.
Yeah, and I've used it as a defense mechanism because and it was funny because I really liked, and I'm watching it again, was the Netflix documentary with Jonah Hill Stutz.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
It's
I've heard
incredible.
It's really good.
I'm watching it again because I'm gonna do like a response video.
Yeah.
Where I break it down, and Jonah catches, because he's kind of doing a session with his therapist where he's not the therapist, but he's kind of interviewing his therapist.
Sure.
Is the whole premise of the whole thing, and he catches him using humor to deflect it. He goes, no, I'm gonna stop you there. I know what you're doing because I do that shit too.
Yep.
And I was like, I do it all the time.
Yeah, but that could be a connection of humor and your mental health pages is talking about you see this person on this creator platform, but this is who I am and how I got to here. This is because I found that I was funny and that I could use humor as a response to trauma. Mm-hmm. So you are choosing to use humor instead of hatred.
Yeah.
Because you could just close up and say you hate everybody.
Yeah.
Instead, you're finding ways to make other people relate through humor. I would, when I have clients come to me and their minds have I have 8 different things I want to go with. I don't know what to do. Everybody has that main job that they don't love, but it's holding them. It keeps them together financially, but it's tearing them apart in every other way. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of us have that.
Yeah.
And I try to focus on if you had to tell me one thing that you are good at, what are you amazing at? What's a talent you want to share with the world?
That's really tough. I would just say I don't know. I'm likable, I guess.
What can you do with that? What's characteristic of someone that's a likable person?
They're typically kind, understanding. The thing with me is a lot of people, I don't know if it's me because I'm a people pleaser, but if you were to go I've heard this from a few different people, because I always, I seek reassurance, validation, and I was talking to a friend yesterday, another comedian, and she's like, I've never heard anyone say anything bad about you ever.
Think about that.
And I was like,
Think about how, now, have you said something bad about yourself since you've started with comedy?
oh yeah.
So think about that. Nobody else has anything bad about you to say except you.
Yeah.
You're the only person.
Annie Stoppers actually told me the same thing.
Think about that, though.
Yeah.
Right? So you're
Name drop. Shout out to Annie. I don't know if she's listening.
Right. Hey, girl. I mean, like, think about the characteristics of what you just said is the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Well-liked, respected, listens, knows how to talk to people. You can do anything with that. Right now, you're doing the job that's paying you 9 to 5, right? And there's nothing wrong with
For
that.
stability. Yeah.
I get it. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to is how can you, I always like to think like, okay, I've always struggled with weight my entire life. I've literally been on a diet since I was like 12, I feel like. And until like this last couple
Like
years.
different diets?
Yeah, just like fad diet this, fad diet that, don't eat fat, do keto, do Jenny Craig, everything.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, when I was on the school bus, I will not say his name, but this is why you have to be kind to people, because I was in 3rd grade and this kid would always sing to me 1-800-94-JENNY. I was in 3rd grade, which is the Jenny Craig theme song or whatever to call. And so what's crazy is I was in 3rd grade and I still remember that. So we do have to just shout out, let's speak, me too. If I've ever hurt somebody, please reach out to me so I can fix it. Because I'm always like, I'm not the same person I was when I was younger. And so none of us are. So I get the benefit of the doubt. But words stick with us, you know.
Yeah, there's some people I didn't like in high school and grade school or middle school that I am perfectly cool with today.
Yeah. And I think it's because, you know, our brain's also not fully developed until we're in like our mid-20s.
Yeah.
You know. But
Which I did not know until
I didn't either. And like
probably my mid-20s.
right. Drugs and alcohol alter that.
Yeah, they
That's
slow
why
it
it's
down.
like, if I could do anything for my children, I know I can't protect them from everything, but if I could just tell them, wait to do mind-altering stuff until your mind is finished, then do whatever you want.
Yeah, then do it.
But yeah, if you just think about what difference can Colin bring to the world, like when you show up as your true self, not the person you have to be from 9 to 5. When you show up as your true self, what makes you happy? Because whatever makes you happy is going to, if you're setting situations up where you're pulling yourself into things and they make you feel good, like you wouldn't be doing extra work on a Sunday for your 9 to 5. You're doing this today because you love this and you enjoy this.
Yeah.
You know, so the diet thing I was saying is I used to tell myself, if I could just get skinny, I'll stay skinny. I just got to get there. Like, just please make me skinny tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I realized I won't stay there because I've been skinny, in quotation skinny, and then I hadn't had the right habits and then I gained the weight back. So instead I created, okay, if Lori was her goal weight today, what would she do? And I did that like 18 months ago, and I just started the behaviors of what Lori at her goal weight would do. And I just did those behaviors, and then I got to my goal weight. And it was so like simple. I'm like, this is all I had to do was just pretend I'm already there. So that's the best thing, is if you just pretend you're already doing what you want to do, you're already doing it. And then it just starts to the compound interest effect.
Yeah.
And you're doing it.
So I guess the fake it till you make it thing actually does work.
It does work. That's, I mean, manifesting at its finest.
Yeah. I had one guest who wrote a book about manifesting and how he thinks it's bullshit.
Wow. I'd
So
love to read it.
I'll have you share that.
And that's another thing.
I'll share that with you, yeah.
You have to look at all sides of it. Because
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I will pick something. I'm a huge, huge component of manifesting. And I will pick something up from this book that I enjoy and that I like, and it'll be a new.
His thing is like people look at it the wrong way, I think.
Absolutely. Like it's
Yeah.
not just like.
Like he more so he looks at it like, I haven't read the book yet. Obviously it's not out yet, but I talked to him about it a little bit. It's more so like the people that just like, I want this to happen, so it will
Right.
happen, and they don't do anything.
No, it's all.
You have to have action.
Manifesting is just another word for planting a seed.
Yeah.
All you're doing is planting a seed in your brain. So then your subconscious mind starts to work for you. That's
Yeah.
all it is. But your conscious mind has to be the one running the ship.
But it's not like a genie wish thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's
Absolutely.
more so what he's
And I think
going after.
what's scary about that, and that makes sense that he thinks it's bullshit, because it is. Because people say, well, I did this though, Lori, it's not working, I'm doing this. It's like, but are you really doing it? Because I get that a lot. I'm trying, I'm doing it. And I'm like, okay, but I can tell. Because when I'm coaching you, part of the app, you give me permission to see your progress. And so, like, I can tell if you're not doing it. So, like, well, you're not doing it, which is okay, but just know that you won't get the results unless you do it. What can I do to help you do it?
Yeah, you don't need to lie to me.
I can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. I appreciate you being on. And yeah, we'll have to set up a live. I've been trying to do, I don't know what live I want to do because, and I'm totally open to do that. I just don't know if I want to do Instagram or if I want to do Facebook or like, there's one where you can do like both.
that'd be awesome.
And then I also started a Twitch channel. One of my friends was like, it's not just for gamers. Like it's another.
Is that where people like watch you do stuff?
Yeah.
Like on Twitch, like you can watch somebody play
You can
NBA
just
2K or whatever.
Yeah, you can just go live and do a Q&A though.
Oh, cool.
So
I saw the bunch of because in Twitches
there's people who make money off of that.
well, people. I saw this one guy. He put like $10,000 into a gaming machine, and he just recorded himself hitting $50 each time until he can get bonuses and he get money. I'm like, I can get paid for this. That's
Yeah,
this whole
there's
thing.
people who do scratchers.
This is crazy.
Yeah,
I love our generation. We literally find any way to make money.
yeah,
You don't have money to gamble? Watch me gamble.
yeah. It's true.
Oh.
Well, I appreciate you taking the
Thanks,
time on
Colin, yeah.
Sunday. It was a good time.